following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and the return of the giant cockroaches. Ugh.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. Evil is coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And this week we're going to be discussing episode 5 of the first season of Fallout. Title of this week's episode is The Past. And before we get into our individual topics about the episode, we always do sort of a rapid fire. How did we feel about this episode in general? And I went first last week for episode 4. So Steve, it's your turn. What are your thoughts on episode 5, The Past?
Well, I liked it. You know, I like just like all the other episodes. It's really good.
You sound like a broken record. God.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could be like, yeah, I didn't like this one.
This one sucked.
Yeah, no, I mean it was interesting because last week we had no Knight Titus / Maximus in the episode at all, and this episode we had no Cooper Howard / the Ghoul in the episode at all. So again, we were kind of joking before we started that it must have been Walton Goggins' week off. Right. Yeah, he went on holiday for that week. So I really like, again, as the game player, just how much they pull over from the game, whether it's the Radaway in the IV bag or the fusion core, the way that it looks, because that's exactly how it looks in the game. Mm-hmm. And then also just from the storytelling part, again, the main story with the head and finding her father and all of that, it kind of pushed forward a little. It did. But what we got a lot of was what's going on in the vault, and Norm and his story as he is really digging deeper and deeper into this mystery that is suddenly like all around him. And I really loved how they did it, how they layered it, how he just he started, he and Chet obviously last week explored the Vault 32 with all the, the corpses and the graffiti on the wall and all that stuff. And then this week it was more of him doing some research, like looking stuff up on the computer that on the surface, if you look at one or two of these little tidbits, they don't really mean anything. But when you start stringing them together, there's something going on, So yeah, and then all the stuff with Betty and the election and everything, it was funny, and it was also a little ominous because of what Norm is uncovering. And so yeah, I was all for all of the stuff in this episode, and of course we got the return of Plucky Lucy at the end because she was so happy of what happened to them. I thought the episode was really great, and a good kind of carrying through, leading us into the next one. And I know we said this before, but it's doubly true. When this episode ended, it was really hard to not go, yes, I'll watch another one. To I want to keep going. I want to keep seeing, what's next. And so, yeah, that's always the mark of, I'm enjoying this. So yeah, what'd you think?
Same. I feel like, in the overall, I'm using air quotes, journey of the story, agreed. There wasn't a lot of movement forward, but there were some pretty interesting little pockets of discovery with Lucy and Maximus together, and it's interesting because the story of the whole show, the whole main storyline of the show is Lucy's journey, right? They're centering that, and Ella Purnell is the main star of the show pretty much, along with Walton Goggins, but. Steve and I was talking beforehand, and I mentioned how I was really looking forward to digging deeper into the Vault storylines because, when I first watched, I binged right through this first season, and I didn't pay as close attention to some of the Vault sort of intrigue that pops up while we're learning more about like Lucy's journey, and she's out there in the world, and her story is very apocalypse driven, whereas like the stuff inside the vaults, it's all very interesting, and it's kind of like being inside a time capsule. And then all the apocalypse stuff that I love, it was going on the outside. So I kind of, paid kind of half attention to a lot of the stuff. And then when things sort of, resolve some of the storylines about some of the intrigue, and Faults does, resolve a bit towards the finale. Then when we jumped back in to watch these episodes again, I couldn't remember a lot of the stuff. Like I remembered, Norm and some of his, the things that he found, but some of the more granular details, like I totally forgot that it was his mom's Pip-Boy, things like that,
Sure.
So I've been really enjoying getting more and more detail back in my brain about the stuff that's going on in the vaults and sort of Norm's journey that's happening at the same time. And it was kind of more front and center in this episode. There was more growth in that storyline than there was in the Lucy storyline, which was a lot of fun. It was great. Very creepy. And there were lots of moments where you could see like Norm is just like absorbing things around him and sort of, and he's really good at not giving away what's going on, but still sort of giving off this aura of I'm being very cautious right now, and not saying what I'm thinking, but you can sort of read it on my face if you're paying attention. It feels like Betty kind of is, and no one else is. So it's just interesting to see how all of that is playing out. I'm really excited to see more of those details as they sort of come together. But yeah, overall, really, really great episode. And like we were saying, none of these are bad episodes. They're just varying degrees of good,
Right.
Which is, not a bad situation to have. It's not a problem, really.
No.
Not a problem to have.
No. What it means is that it's a really good show.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Which is it's good. It's a good show, and it's good to have that kind of issue. So no Ghoul this week, but it looks like he might be in next week's episode a little bit. So we'll talk about that when we get to the end of the episode. But before we get into our individual top moments for episode 5, Steve, why don't you remind us what we were looking forward to for episode 5 with episode description, and then we'll get into the writer and the director of the show.
All right. Well, again, as you stated it when we started, this is episode 1.5, The Past. Mm-hmm. And it's funny with those roaches, you could easily make it The Pest, but no, it's The Past. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, is for the Amazon Prime series Fallout Season 1. And the episode description that we got from the very talented episode description writers is as follows. Lucy joins forces with Maximus to find Thaddeus, who absconded with the head. Meanwhile, Betty becomes the overseer of Vault 33 and reassigns part of the population to Vault 32. And that is your episode description. And those things definitely happen. So good for you, episode description writers.
Well done.
All right, so moving along to our writers and our director. I'm super excited because just like last week, we have a new pair of writers and directors. Yay! It's the first 3 episodes. We had the same team, same group of writers and the same director. Last week, we had a different writer and director, and this week we do. And this week, our writer is a guy named Carson Mell. And he has a lot of credits. He has like 14 total writing credits for shows and things. He did a show called Some of Our Stallions. He did a show called Fired on Mars. He did Silicon Valley, and then a bunch of other things. So a lot of stuff, all within like the last like 10 years or so. And so you can look up and see that a lot of the shows on there were shorts and things that I didn't necessarily recognize, but certainly he's been busy, which is good. And then our director was a gal named Claire Kilmer. Kilner, Kilner, and she has like 24 directing credits, and a couple of them might be producer credits too. But she has worked on a ton of genre shows. She's worked on that board game thing you're always going on and on about, the spin-off show, the House of the Dragon.
Oh,
and and she has directed episodes of Gen V. She's directed episodes of Snowpiercer, the series, The Alienist, Pennyworth, and Krypton. If you remember, Pennyworth was the show about the Batman's butler, and Krypton was a show about Superman's home planet, but like generations before Superman. It was a weird setup, but anyway, again, 24 credits, and lots of experience, and I think that both of them I thought did a really good job. I thought the episode was well written, and I think that our director gave us some really good stuff. I loved the intrigue of the vault and the mystery and the way she staged that. And there's like that one moment where Maximus and Lucy stride out, and you get this just incredible shot of the bomb crater and the decaying city behind it that is just gorgeous. And it's like for the apocalypse lover in me, that's what I think about when I think of apocalypse stories.
Yes,
is that vista of like in the 1950s, that shot would be like in a cowboy movie would be of like the Grand Canyon, or like, the Monument Valley, or wherever they would shoot the majority of those westerns, where you have like the buttes and the hills and stuff going off into the desert, right? But here for Apocalypse, that's what I think of. You have this massive nuclear bomb crater that they're right on the lip of, and then behind it is this, what was clearly like downtown Los Angeles or something, and it's the skyscrapers are there, but they're all like skeletal remains of the skyscrapers. And I just think that is just so super cool.
Nice. Oh, I agree.
So that's our writer and our director. So there you go.
Fantastic. Well, they did a fantastic job. Before we get into
So Diana, I have a question. What's the best way to ruin a bonding moment?
Well, Steve, here are some ideas on that. Let's say you're sitting by the fire and you're bonding with someone you work with,
Did you just accomplish something cool?
Yeah.
Together?
You might have accomplished something cool, like maybe finding something you were looking for, whatever that may be.
Okay. Sure,
and then you're joking, you're laughing, you're having a grand old time. You bond even further by, let's say, getting a tattoo or maybe a brand on your body.
Brand or something.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're trying to, with this person, just, get ahead in life?
I see what you did there. And no, it's not funny. Well, the way you can really kill that moment is, let's say you're really there, you're both bonding, and then you say, listen, I've really got to tell you something. And that other person's like, yeah, we're in this moment right now. I'm your guy. I'm your friend. Tell me anything. And then, if you kind of reveal to them that you've been lying to them the whole time, I don't think it's going to go the way you think it's going to go.
Oh, yeah. Really didn't turn out the way that Maximus thought it was going to go, did it?
No, not at all. And it's interesting how quickly he changed. You know what I mean? Like as soon as it was, as Thaddeus was like pushing back, and it only took a good 10 seconds, maybe less.
Oh yeah.
And he immediately hits the button and closes his visor again. You're like, oh yeah, that's not good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I read that note you put on there, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is absolutely like the number one way to like kill like the bonding moment.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
and for me, and I mean, I want to know your take, but for me, I think he could have worked. I do, but where he went off the rails was when Thaddeus went, "What happened to Titus?" And his response was, "He died."
He didn't
Because
say,
if
he did no. That I have to disagree with you. He didn't say he died. He said, "Oh, he's dead."
oh, he's dead.
Yeah, that's how
what
he said it.
Yeah.
And I think if he had, and I know where you're going with this, if he had just been like, there was an accident, and
or like
and,
this,
and
we ran into this bear and it killed, look at
unfortunately
the
he
armor,
died.
it killed him. Yeah. I mean, I think if he had gone and approached it that way, and so he's like, he died. We were in this cave, and this bear attacked us, and look at the armor. You can see the claw mark stuff. He died. He didn't survive. So I decided to carry on the mission for the Brotherhood
because it felt it was very important. And look, we
Yeah.
accomplished it, and let's go back together, and we'll,
Yeah, and I'll face the music for whatever happened. Yeah, I think if you would have done it that way, there's a chance that maybe Thaddeus would have been like, all right. But yeah, as soon as he went,
yeah, he's dead.
He's dead. I mean, because you're like, and then I think doesn't Thaddeus go like, what did you do?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, he lost him.
Yeah, that's the end of that. And really it's all about like like words and sentence structure there, and he failed on all of it.
Yeah. Well, and then it doesn't help too when he goes, we just have to get our story straight.
Right.
It's like, no.
No. That shouldn't be your first concern.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's interesting though. It goes to show like I mean he recognized Maximus like right away. And it was God, that scene. He just played it all wrong. What a stupid boy.
Just someone that just has very little people skills and experience,
No
just
social
not
skills there,
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have gone way better.
Yeah. And so, like you said, he puts the face mask back in place, and now it's like, well, gotta kill you.
Yeah.
And we see Thaddeus, and he kind of gets that key out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And the one advantage of fighting someone like that in the power armor is that it is kind of clumsy.
Yes.
And you can kind of, if you're agile enough, and he kind of gets away a little bit, but Maximus does like crush, and I mean crush one of his feet.
Yeah.
I mean, like flat. I mean, like every bone is like. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like that. Like if he were to go to a doctor, they're like, "Yeah, we gotta cut this off."
Yeah, that's
I mean,
the end
there's
of that
just
foot.
yeah, there's just no way you can do it. But he still manages to slip behind him, and he uses the key, and he removes the fusion core from Maximus's armor. And as soon as the fusion core it goes out, the armor just shuts down, and you can see in the Tony Stark shots of him, where it's just the close up of his face, it says like standby mode on the screen. And he literally, not only he can't move, he can't like use the microphone to talk very much. So like when he talks like he's like, because he's muffled in the armor, and he can't even open the armor to get out. He's just stuck.
Yeah.
And Thaddeus is like, you screw you, man. And he like takes the head, and he like slowly like drags his broken foot away and leaves.
And he still takes the big bag with him too, which is so funny. I mean, it's got supplies in it,
too, yeah.
sure. But...
And it probably has guns and stuff too, yeah. But it was just like, really? You're still gonna lug that big thing around?
Yeah,
okay,
no kidding. I mean, unless it's got a wheelchair and there are some crutches. I mean, dude, that's really what you need right now.
Maybe there's a stim pack.
And maybe. And another moment of like not helping yourself when as he's walking. I mean, sure, he's mad and Thaddeus is walking away. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah,
I'm
right. It's like, no.
I don't think he's gonna turn around and help you out if that's what you're yelling.
Yeah. Well, I have to remember too. It's I'm gonna kill you.
Right,
so
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like I said, the fusion core, it looks exactly like it does in the game, where it's kind of like it's like a can, almost like the size of a can of soda,
right?
And it's yellow, and it's got that like little like bit on the end that you use to push into the back of the arm. I mean, yeah, it's spot on. So again, they did an amazing production design job of the armor and the fusion core there. So yeah, it's
Is that where it's located as well? Is it
Yeah,
on the back
yeah.
of the suit like that?
Yep,
Okay.
right there. Yeah, and when you're playing, when you're in the armor, one of the gauges you have or one of the displays shows you like the percentage of power that the core has left. And it slowly kind of reduces as you're just moving around. And you find them. You'll find fusion cores periodically throughout the wasteland. You can buy them sometimes at little shops and things that are selling ammo and other stuff. But yeah, you'll come across suits of armor of the T60 and the T80 they're all over the place. So you find a lot of them, and a lot of them will have fusion cores in them already. So once you play the game for a little while, it's like the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna run out of a fusion core is very rare, because it's like, hey, I've got like 16 of them, So
yeah.
But yeah, again, it's just everything about that was exactly what's in the game. Which again, for the game people like me, you're just like, oh yeah, well done.
Thank you. And then we get he screams in frustration, and it's just a smash cut to the title card again, in another different title card, and we both wrote about it in our notes. And it's like the effect is kind of like a paint peeling, like weathered paint or whatever. And it's really cool because right after they show the title card, they go back to now it's daytime, and we go back to where Maximus is stuck in the suit, and where he's located is kind of like like an urban jungle kind of look. There's concrete walls all around him. He looks like he's in like either an old like underpass or like a rail station, or like some kind of something where there's concrete around him and up above him, so sort of surrounded, but there's an opening to sort of get out, so sort of like a train tunnel, as it were.
That's what my take was on it. Was either a subway or a train station, and they were like he was like on the platform.
Yeah, and when they show like some surroundings, you see a lot of the concrete has like white paint on it that is all peeling and coming off with age. So it's like you see it, and then I remember thinking, like, when I watched it, because I didn't really pay attention to the title cards my first time through, but now that I am, and when it came up and I saw, I was like, oh, it's like peeling paint, and I was like, well, what's that signify? And then right after it, they're like, oh, it's the peeling paint on the there it was
of where he is. Yeah. Well, they do it backwards, because the last couple of times there's an action that then leads to the title card.
Exactly.
Lucy is creating the ass jerky, then we get the blood spatter from last week.
Yeah.
And so this week, instead, we get the paint peeling and kind of weathering on the title card, and then it cuts to, oh, yeah, everything around him is clearly weathering and peeling. Gotcha. So,
right. So it was an interesting sort of like flip on that. But yeah, it looked really cool, and then jumps right into that scene, and poor guy. I mean, come on, cockroaches again, and I gotta ask, like, would they have had the ability to like bust through his armor like that?
They because the armor's not. It's interesting. I don't know. In game terms, like the roaches, the rad roaches, if they come up to you and they attack you, they can do damage to you.
Right.
And it's not like they get through the armor; they just do damage to you. So,
okay.
But I think in the show's context, when it started going to like his armpit area, clearly that's not as fully armored spot as, like his head or his arms or his torso.
Right.
And so maybe they could kind of like eat through the padding or something and get in there. I mean, they are roaches, right? So, I think the way he was reacting, I really think that he was like, oh, this is how I'm going to die. I'm going to get eaten by this thing, and I can't defend myself at all. I just got to sit here and, take it. Oh, God.
I know. It's awful. And just as like, there's one that's sort of like right at his side, at his midsection, which is sort of like a more like connective tissue part of the suit, where he can sort of be mobile and moving, and so that's where he's like, get not there, and it's picking away at the suit. And, you know, if you gave it enough time, it probably would have made its way inside somehow. But then there's one that, like, crawls up over his visor, and it's in his vision, and he's just like, this is, no. And then, out of nowhere, splash!
Oh, yeah. Bang, splat. Yeah.
Yeah. And he gets to see, you know, just like you would dream about. It's a woman of his dreams, and she's just beyond the cockroach guts that are splashed all over his visor. And it's like, oh, look, it's the pretty girl. Yeah. So that was really interesting. And she does, you know, crack open a couple of things so that he can, first she does his mask so he can breathe. And he's just like, oh my God, so thankful. But it's, I put a note down that I wanted to sort of talk about, you know, as soon as she, you know, I'm Lucy, and he introduces himself. I was curious right before it was going to happen. Because I couldn't remember how he did it. And I was like, what name will he use? And he says he's Knight Titus. He doesn't say Maximus.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about that. Because, I mean, Thaddeus knows. And if Thaddeus gets back to the base, it's all, you know, the jig is up, you know. So I was curious why, like, you know, he's keeping up the appearances. I don't know.
For me, it's a story as old as time. It's, you know, boy wants to impress girl. So boy, you know, spins fantastic yarn about self to impress girl. And so it's much cooler for him, for, you know, the adolescent him to go, I'm a knight. Check me out, as opposed to, well, I'm a squire, and then my knight died, although I could have saved him, but I didn't, and then I took his armor, you know, not quite as cool, right? Yeah, so that's what I took out of it, was he's yes, you're right, Thaddeus is going to rat him out and all this stuff, but he's just thinking about right now.
That's true. And what's interesting, like, in hindsight, he probably could have just said his name and given a little bit of detail, because Lucy doesn't know anything about the Brotherhood. So
exactly.
But he doesn't know until later that she's a little ignorant of what his Brotherhood is and is all about. You know, and by then it's too late. He's already introduced himself as Knight Titus, but he might have been able to just been like, oh yeah, it's pretty normal, you know, if a knight gets injured, that's what the squire's there for. Jump right in the suit, finish it off, you know. Yeah. Like he could have done something different, but you know.
Again, just like with Thaddeus, you know, it's the way he did it. It's like, dude, come on, man. You can make this work if you just think a little, you know.
Yeah, and you're right. It probably was stemming from a sort of like, you know, a showy offy kind of moment, you know, like that, you know, building himself up there, you know, so I just think he was sort of like sitting like on the edge of a knife. He could have done one thing and he went the totally other way, which I thought was a very interesting choice for him. Yeah.
Well, and I also, correct me if I'm wrong, but he tells her who he is before she lets him out, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Because he can't get out. He needs her to like turn the, you know, the big wheel.
Yeah, they have a whole conversation about it before she'll let him out. She does open the visor first, though.
Yes, so, she does do that. Yeah. But so he, you know, a lot of it could be also that if he says, I'm Knight Titus, you know, I'm the guy that helped you in Philly, right? Which she asks him, are you that guy? Again, he's trying to point out, yes, I'm a good guy. You can trust me, because, you know, he's like, you please let me out. And you know, at first she's like, believe me, I really want to trust you, but I've had a rough week, which is a great line. And it makes you really think, oh yeah, think of all the stuff that's happened to this poor girl in literally just a few days. And, you know,
I mean, it started off with, you know,
gets married.
Yeah.
Consummates the marriage, right?
Yes.
Okie dokie. You know, then, you know, raider fight, many people killed, dad kidnapped.
Yep.
Then has to like escape the vault, you know, against the wishes of the people in charge. And then once she gets to the surface, everybody that she meets, and later on because he keeps asking her, please, you gotta, you gotta help me. I need, you have to let me out. And she goes, I really want to believe you, but practically every person I've met up here has tried to kill me. So, and again, she's not wrong. It's like, yes, every person literally is like looked at her and went, oh yeah, we're going to kill you and eat you or kill you and take your stuff or whatever,
Right.
And then like she pukes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She throws up, and that's when he's like, "Oh, you've got radiation poisoning," which,
Yeah.
remember, she drank that
The
that
water.
radiated water
Yeah.
from last episode, right? And so he points out that, look, let me out. Inside my armor, I have some. He says the term "radaway," which I
Yeah.
know you made that
Yeah, I
one of
made
your
a note
notes.
there. Yeah.
And Radaway again, just like we see it, it's an IV bag and it says Radaway on it just like that, and it looks just like that, totally out of the game.
I was gonna
It-
ask. That's why I included it. I was like, I'm curious
Yeah.
if that shows up in the game. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does, and it's a weird kind of a sciency, wyancy thing that conceit that the game designers make, that in this universe you can be exposed to 100 Chernobyls worth of radiation, and all you have to do is take one Radaway and boop, you're fine. And there's
Yeah.
no genetic damage, all the stuff that we saw happen to like those firemen in Chernobyl, right?
Yeah.
None of that happens. It's just like, nope, you're good. Which makes sense. It's a game, right? You don't
Right.
want to like, oh well, now your character has cancer and is going to die. That's not fun. So, but yeah, it is. It is straight out of the game, and so she does turn the wheel and lets him out, and then she's kind of looking at the T-60, and she even points out the lining, right?
Yeah.
That he was asking Titus about, or yeah, Knight Titus, when they were on the Vertibird, and then she just kind of goes, I'm gonna pass out now.
And good night.
That's right. A little sleepy time.
It's interesting that the game designers came up with just like one simple sort of like little fix it, like including the Radaway, because you see people out in the wasteland, and I'm sure it's like a class thing, much like anything that would happen in the apocalypse. If you've got the money and the resources and you have access to Radaway, you may look a little bit more like, like I'm sure,
like Lucy,
like Maximus has access to it through the Brotherhood probably. So, if they get sick, they can have a little bit of that, etc. It's in his pack just in case. And you look like Lucy. You look well fed. You look well taken care of. You look healthy. And then there's plenty of people out in the wasteland who probably have little to no access to Radaway. But what I wanted to say is I think it's interesting that the game designers included this one little thing that's almost like a regular, video game like power up, like take this and you'll be better. Because, Fear the Walking Dead did multiple seasons with nuclear waste included, and never took the time to make even a quickie solution to it other than just like keep yourself covered up. And only do a middling to half-ass job doing that at all.
Sure.
But yeah,
pending nuclear blast, just like climb under a truck.
Yeah,
you're fine.
And you'll be fine.
Oh, please.
It will barely even hit you. So
exactly.
So I just think it's cool, like because we've covered, like we talked Fear the Walking Dead. We talked all about the Chernobyl series, which had reality there, and to have this, which is just another fiction interpretation of like a nuclear fallout, but they put a little MacGuffin in there to sort of like give you like an out. So why are these people not all like have their noses falling off or like parts of their body falling off, like Brundlefly, for crying out loud? So they put in just like a little explain away, as it were, and it's quick, it's easy, and they pop it into the show as well, and then you've got a little explanation thing. So now you can suspend your disbelief for the rest of the series, because oh well, they can just hook up to this and they'll be fine.
And they'll be fine. Yeah. Well, and when I know we're jumping ahead, but when Maximus and Lucy are out walking and they encounter the strangers, when you see them, they look like they could use some Radaway, don't they? You know, I
Right,
mean,
yes.
they are not nearly as healthy looking
Nope.
as those other two are. So
No.
yeah, and you're right. It's all a class system in a way of just like now, you know, if you've got the money, you can get anything you need.
Hmm.
And so, you know, the affluent have access to the best healthcare, and clearly the Brotherhood is very powerful, so they're able to supply their. Again, I don't know if the Squire would get to use Radaway, but clearly the Knights do. You know, the Knights
Right.
have it because it was in his armor. It wasn't like included in like the big golf bag of stuff. You know,
Right.
he had it inside his suit. So, but yeah, straight out of the game, and that's always fun. And she talks a little about the T-60,
Yes.
and you know, it mentions the Battle of Anchorage, which was a something that was like a battle fought before the big war,
Hmm.
where it was between Russia and the United States, and it was after that that the American army started to introduce the power armor and so
Right.
on. And so just we just get a little tidbit, a little snippet of what was going on back in the before time, which you know,
Yeah.
whenever they mention the before time, I'm happy. So
Of course. And you know, she does eventually get him out of the armor. She you know, they do their thing, and she decides to try and like make a deal with him, you know, after
hmm
they've had a little chitter chatter about the T-60 and all of that, and a little more bonding. You know, and so she makes him a deal, after he says, you know, there's more T-60s where he came from, and she says, you know, I've got a tracker inside the head,
hmm
you know, and she makes the right assumption. She's like, everybody on Earth seems to be looking for this head, so that must be what you're looking for. And he doesn't say anything, so basically yes. So
yes, right.
she's like, I have a tracker inside the head. I can follow it. If you come with me, and we'll get the head. You know, if she can use it to get her father back, she'll then give the head to him so he can bring it to the Brotherhood, and then if they'll give her the no, she said give the head to the Brotherhood, and then she can use the T-60s to save her father. She doesn't need the head anymore. So
Right.
that's more of the exchange. Take the head, do with it whatever you want, I don't care. I was only using it as a bargaining chip for my dad, but if I
Yeah.
had some T-60s, I could just bust him out, and
Yeah.
I don't need a bargaining chip.
And yeah, so she's like, give me like 5 or 6 of your knights,
Yeah, and some
you know,
guns and stuff, and I'll be
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting that you know, Maximus is really not in a position to say, yeah, we'll do that.
And yet he does.
And he does. He's like, okay, let's do that deal. You know, where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
again, it shows you that Maximus at this point is really not thinking about the future all that much.
No,
He's really kind of
moment.
he's going, yes, it's very much what's happening right now. How do I like keep going?
Yeah.
And you know, whatever happens down the road, that's for future Maximus to deal with, not current
Yeah,
Maximus.
it's I just let me just survive this, and we'll figure it out later, kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody
yeah.
got time for that right now, basically. So they head off on their little and I love the framing of that shot when they shaking hands. There's a little bit of kind of like the way the light refracts. There's a little bit of a rainbow, and then it's playing the
Mhm.
Battle Hymn of the Republic and everything, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay. In any other show you would think it's heavy-handed, but this works. It all works
It-
together.
It did. And I should point out too that at least here we do see a bit of Maximus learning from previous stuff, because he is down on the tracks, and he is like pushed the armor onto the
Mhm.
ground and is covering it up with like a blanket and some of the trash that's kind of collected around there. So he's like hiding it.
Yeah.
Because remember last time in Philly, he just left it and went into the get that little spot weld done.
Yeah.
And when he came back out,
Yeah, people
there's
were
all those
taking it.
dudes are like,
Yeah.
hey, it's our armor now, you know. Yeah, so he's learning at least that far of like, yeah, I can't just leave this here, even though it doesn't have a fusion core. It doesn't matter. It's like, you know, he's thinking maybe we'll catch up to Thaddeus, and then I can come back and get the armor, you know.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah. So they go off and head into next phase of Lucy Maximus, sort of journey, we pivot back to the vaults, and we've got Chet and Norm back in the vault 32 poking around and looking around, and they're about to finish up, and he's like, I want to check one more thing.
And Chet's like, can we go home, please?
Yeah, and they're talking about it, and he's like, Chet's doing his best. Chet's one of those people with like a positive outlook, and now all this shit has happened to him, and he's just trying to come out better on the other side. And Norm's like, how would someone have my mom's Pip-Boy? Like, what is happening? Like, how is that possible? And Chet's like, maybe it's like some kind of data entry error. Maybe there was something wrong with the computers. Like, I don't know. He's trying to come up with any reason other than like the obvious one.
Yeah, other than the dark, horrible truth. Yes. Yeah. He's like, no, it's got to be a mistake.
Yeah, but let's try and explain it away as best we can so that I can go home and go to sleep at night, and I don't have to worry about this anymore because the rest of my life is falling apart.
Hey, I really want to get back to the vault and be Bert.
Yeah,
okay?
Please, can I go back to being Bert, please? Yeah. And in that moment, Norm is like, listen, I want to check one more thing. And then he goes, and of course, Chet's like, why can't we go home?
Please, I just want to leave.
And he goes to log into a terminal, and he goes to like look at some more things. And does he go up to the other vault for 31?
He goes up to, they go to where Vault 31, the door in Vault 32 leading to Vault 31 is, and there's this like tableau, like the princess from Walking Dead would be proud of, like this, like there's like a dude holding a torch, like a skeleton, like up to, and I have to admit, I'm like, really, would they actually have died in those positions,
Right.
But it's a cool sequence, and you get the idea that a big group of the 32ers were like trying to break into the Vault 31 door, and they've got picks and tools, and like I said, the guy with a blowtorch, and I wrote this down because on the wall, on the door of Vault 31, they wrote, again in blood, because that's obviously the ink of choice here. It says, "We know what's in there." And at this point, Chet is really kind of had his fill, and is like, I'm done with the exploring Vault 32 for the day. But it's a real creepy moment, and yet you're like, it was very, like, a lot of this stuff with Norm exploring Vault 32. It gave me a really strong Lost vibe.
Yeah.
Where you're in this facility and you're just like, what happened here? What's going on here? Why is it like this? And that was very much with Lost for the whole island, as they're sort of exploring it and finding weirder and weirder things seemingly every week, right?
Right.
So I had a real strong sense, Lost like feeling of the way they revealed all that stuff.
Yeah, agreed. In after they see that message, Chet is really like, now we need to get out of here, okay?
Yes.
Like, could we just leave? And I love the moment when Betty catches them and like, and it's only because they're like covered in like dust and grime, and she's like, where are you two coming from? And they're like, we were planting potatoes.
Yes.
And what's funny, because just before Betty sees them, Norm is like, and if anybody asks where we were, Chet says, I'll have a heart attack.
Yes.
And then like right after he says that, Betty's like, hey guys, where have you been? And they're like,
Yeah,
it's a great
planting potatoes. Yes.
Yeah, potatoes. That's what it was.
And okay, do you think she bought it?
Oh God, no.
Yeah,
no, but I think she's not. I think that, there's stages of Betty in this episode, and I think in this, she thinks they're up to something, but she can't put her finger on what they're up to just yet. Like, she doesn't know if it's like a bad thing or if it's just boys being boys. Who knows? They could be doing something stupid, right?
Yeah.
So she's curious and concerned, but it seems like she slightly brushes it off towards the end there. Like, this is probably just a one-off thing. But then as it starts to get weirder through the episode, you can see her becoming more like, oh, this is a thing. There's something going on. Not so much Chet. Chet's there as like the extra, but Norm. She knows that
Norm, yeah.
Norm
Gotta
is,
keep her,
yeah.
Got to keep her eye on Norm because this could develop into a problem down the road, perhaps.
Yeah,
but and I just want to point out in the game you do have the ability to plant crops because you set up these bases and you get people that NPCs that will like show up and like live in your bases, and you have to feed them and you have to provide water, you have to provide food, you have to provide shelter. And one of the things you can plant is potatoes.
Potatoes.
And it's not potatoes. It is just like they pronounced it. T-A-T-O. Potatoes.
Potatoes.
So, yes.
Genetically modified potatoes? Who knows?
Perhaps. They don't really go that far into it, but yes, they are potatoes, which is pretty cool.
So we get a quick scene with Lucy and Maximus, and then we'll end up back in the vaults. But the scene with Lucy and Maximus is important. Even though it's really quick, they're just walking along, and they come along, these two people. And they have this scene where, as soon as they come upon them, and it's like where they're at in the road is kind of like a little bridge going over a waterway.
Yeah. So there's no way around it.
They can't even be like, let's be safe. We'll walk around. You walk around. They can't do it. This is like they're going to pass each other. So it's kind of a Mexican standoff. So are you armed? No. Are you? No. And of course they're lying through their teeth, both of them.
Well, what I like is that Maximus is like, they're lying, and she's like, so are you.
Yeah. Yes. But I'm a nicer person. So it's this great moment of Maximus, who's more streetwise and knows better. These two people who we don't know what their intentions are or who they are. We can't even barely see them from far away. And then Lucy, who just, even though she's having a bad week, she just really wants to think the best of people. And she really does. Really just wants things to be like, okay. Like, let's just be okay in this moment. Can we? Can we be okay?
Let's not try and kill each other. Yeah. Let's just pass.
Yeah, so it was her idea. There's some tension there for a second, and she calls it out. She's like, okay, I think we're all feeling some tension here. And so it's her idea that they should walk across the bridge, sort of facing each other with their hands up. And I love that was like, you said you weren't armed. He's like, we aren't. And you said you weren't either. Like, she's like, okay, let's just count to 3, hands up.
Everyone take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And then you hear the guy and he's like, what the fork are you talking about?
That's a great moment. Because she actually does. And she's like, takes like a deep breath. Yeah. So they start walking across the bridge with, by the way, I've watched this scene now 3 times over the last 24 hours or so. Mm-hmm. And the choice of music with the Herb Alpert with the song Ladyfingers is so it's literally like it's so great. It's just just as they're walking along, it literally is like something out of a music video. Like you're expecting them to like jump into dance music at any moment. So this music is behind them. They're slowly walking across, and they reach right at each other at the center-ish area, but they're about to pass each other, and they're doing the stare each other down thing. And in that moment, the person who's, the stranger, the female stranger of the two, she locks her eyes on Lucy's Pip-Boy. And you know that all she can see in that Pip-Boy is something to sell, probably, to be able to get money for whatever the heck it is they need. Food, water, whatever. And so in that moment, she sees the Pip-Boy, and you can see her make the decision, and then the camera pans down to her mouth, and she opens her mouth and smiles, and oh my God, no dental care.
No.
And then she does that, and then Maximus is paying attention to their eyes, and he sees the smile, and then he looks over at the guy, and the guy, like, he does the thing where he pinches, he winces his eyes just a little bit, and there's just that little flicker, and he goes to reach for his gun. So he's reaching for his gun. The girl takes out hers, and Maximus gets Lucy's gun, shoots the girl right in the neck, and she's down. In the moment right after that, he shoots her, and he's sort of like standing kind of half, like sort of his shoulder behind each shoulder, like kind of sideways, and the guy shoots and catches him in like the upper arm. And it looks like just a flesh wound to begin with. We know more later, but it just gets him right in the shoulder, and he's right up and shoots him right in the head. And they're gone in like 2 seconds. And Lucy's only reaction is, why?
Yeah, really, why did you do that?
Right.
Yeah, and he's just like, they were fiends.
Yeah. And then she's just like so emotionally spent. Like she said, she's had a bad week. This is not how she wanted this to go. And doesn't it feel like every time there's a moment like this, it's Lucy trying to be like, I'm the better person, I'm a good person, and I don't want to do the bad thing. And then when it fails, as it has been doing this whole time, when it does fail, it's almost like another sort of like rung, like another step taken out from underneath her or something. So she just sinks even further into like, oh, well, this place sucks. What is happening? And so she hears like fiend, and she's like, well, what's a fiend? And he's like, people who eat people. And she says, I hate it up here.
I hate it up here. Yeah.
And it's such an honest reaction. It's so honest in that moment. So yeah, there's a quick scene, but it's another scene of Lucy trying to be like the good person that she is deep down, even though this, the world up above has sort of beat her down a bunch. She still is, the good person.
She's trying.
Golden rule, motherfucker. She's still
Golden
trying,
rule.
you
Yep.
know?
Yeah, well, she clearly still gives everybody the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
That.
Which does not happen
They're
up
not going
there.
to. No. And I was going to mention this last week, but we talked about other stuff, and it slipped my mind. But the gun that she picks up in the Super Duper Mart, that she now has the pistol, that is the 10mm auto pistol that in the game is like the standard Vault-Tec sidearm.
Okay.
And so when you start in the game, and particularly in Fallout 4, which is the most recent one that they've come out with, that's the gun you leave the vault with. And so when I watched the series the first time, I was a little disappointed at the beginning that Lucy didn't have the auto pistol, because that's the standard gun and I was like, wow, why would they exclude that? And then sure enough, it does show up and she gets it. Now they don't make a big deal about it, but yeah, that is like the Vault-Tec weapon, which is really cool. And again, it looks just like it, so yeah, they did a really good job of copying it. But where I really think that Claire Kilner, the director, did really good is they're walking along and they're having this conversation, and Maximus is like, you really thought you were just going to walk up to a warlord with a head and get your dad back without any guns or any, and she's like, yeah, of course, and then right in the middle of the conversation, he stops dead in his tracks. And she like, what? And then, he's looking ahead, and then I love the cut to the shot, and across the bridge, on the other side of the bridge, are the two strangers, and they're just standing there staring, quiet. And it's a really cool reveal. And he is instantly like, uh-oh, get ready. Stuff's going to go down. Yes. And of course, she's like, come on, let's go talk to him. She's very plucky and doesn't get it. But he's like, no. This is serious. Like this, they're going to try and kill us. We're going to have to kill them. That's the only way this situation's going to resolve itself, right? And it's I love it because he's a wasteland guy, and he has learned, because he's survived this long, that when you meet people like this on the road, they will kill you. Yeah. And she hasn't got that lesson yet. She's still, like you said, she's still like, let's work it out. We should be able to work it out. We're better than, and all of the vault platitudes she has about, what does she say? Like in the vault, like the worst thing is someone doesn't say thank you to you. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's like, wow, it sounds like a really cool place to live, you know. But
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, it's just I really love that, like you said, it's a real quick scene, but I really love that we see he's a surface guy that has experienced the wasteland and knows kind of the rules of the wasteland
Hmm.
like the ghoul does, and she is still the fish out of water and
Right.
doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and yeah, like you said, the makeup on the girl
Oh,
of the two.
uh,
Well, first of all, her eyes.
they're great. The whole
Oh,
job, it looks amazing.
it really does. Yeah, and like it's funny because of the guy, it's like, oh, Kid Rock survived the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because he's wearing like that like fur coat
Yeah.
and like the cowboy hat with the feathers, and I mean
Yeah.
you're just like, really? That's your outfit? Oh, okay. But yeah, I thought this was really cool. The way they stage it, the way they reveal it, how Maximus, even though he's letting her drive with all the talk of we're going to raise our hands, we're going to slowly walk by, he's just waiting for them to make their move because he knows they're gonna.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like this happens in pretty much all apocalypse stories. There's always a moment where there's someone who has less common sense, less street smarts, and the person who maybe is a little more cynical, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like perseveres, and the person who wants to think better of people. There's always moments where they are taught that lesson that you can't
Right.
trust other people, etc. And sometimes it's worse than this. In this instance, she survives, but usually that's not the case. That's not what we normally see.
Yeah.
So it is a really great like little tiny scene showing, like you said, who, Maximus has the street smarts and the know-how from being up above, and she is just still that wide-eyed. No matter how much it seems she has changed, she's still deep, deep down inside is still that,
Yes.
wide-eyed, plucky teenager there.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie indeed. So we pivot back to Chet and Norm, and
Yeah.
they're
So Diana,
yeah.
I hear that there might be some sort of election coming up in Vault 31
Yeah.
or Vault 33.
Yeah, there is. So they're talking about some of the information that he looked up. And one of the things he looked up is that he wanted to see something about the transfer of people when he looked up the information. And the most common transfer of people was 31 to 33. And when they got there, they were then elected overseer. So
All of them.
yeah,
in succession.
yes, exactly. And he thinks that's strange. And so he and Chet are talking about it at Chet's place. And I love the little side stuff where like Chet has the rattle and is shaking it, and Norm is looking at him like, this is your life now. You have a baby. And Chet's like, I can't believe this is my life now. Like he doesn't seem happy, with that part of being Bert.
Oh, Bert.
Poor Bert. So they, Chet's like, it's a coincidence. And he's like, for the entire existence, it's always been someone from 31. They've always been voted in as overseer. Why is that? And then, Chet, again, he's in explain it away mode. They have more resources. Maybe they have people with better experience and better, blah, blah, blah. And he's talking it through. He's like, plus they've got that phrase. And they both are like, yeah, when things look glum, vote 31.
Vote 31.
Yeah.
Well, and you also get that scene where like it's election day.
Yeah.
And Reg, who is one of the guys who's running, because it's the three people on the committee that are running. It's Reg and Woody, which are Vault 33 people, and then Betty, who we come to find out
was from
came
31.
from Vault 31.
Yeah.
And so their vote, and Reg is in line, and that older guy is in front of him, and it's just, again, this is like the comic relief of the episode, where he turns to Reg and he's like, hey man, I really like you, but I think Betty, she's like the kind of the logical choice, and Reggie's just like, hey, whatever, just vote who you want to vote for, and then and then the guy takes a step, and the line moves, he turns around, and he's like, says something like, I mean, it's like she was overseer once before, right? So she has the experience, and I really think we need something. And he's like, it's cool, just vote who you want. And then the guy gets right up to the thing, and he's like, I'm gonna vote for Betty.
Yeah.
and then you wrote down what his response was.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm voting for Betty, and he's like, I got that impression.
Yes.
I mean, the guy's name is Davey, right?
Davey.
Oh
I
my
think.
God!
Yeah.
And each time he's just like, he has these interactions with both Reg and Woody, and they're both hilarious. Where each time he's like, I'm voting for Betty, and then later he's like, I voted for Betty, and you're like,
I voted for you. Yeah.
I mean, when they announced Betty was the winner, not which happens in a couple more scenes later, they say she got 98% of the vote.
98%. Yeah.
I mean,
and then when Reg goes into the voting booth, he's gonna vote for himself, and then he's like, "Oh, who am I kidding?" And he votes for her too,
which is hilarious, and it says everything you need to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, with this great he's finding out these details about like who's been elected overseer all these years, and he and Chet are talking this through. Meanwhile, the whole the C storyline is that they're electing a new overseer because Lucy and Norm's dad was taken away, and he was
Hank
the overseer,
is gone.
and they need someone to be in charge. And so this election is going on in the background, like in the way background. But it's interesting because it follows the exact same pattern. They're having this whole conversation about, the people from 31 being elected being a pattern. And then, it was found, Betty was overseer before, and then Hank became overseer, I think, right after her. And so she's just like sort of going right back to what she did before. And I'm sure that that's a lot of what it has to do with how people voted too. They're like,
oh sure,
she's who we know, and she knows the job, yada yada. But that's going on in the background, and they're like, yeah, so it is kind of weird that all of our overseers have been people from 31 who moved over here in like trades and people movements and all that. And it's just it's just this interesting moment. And Norm gets up to leave, and then in Chet was like, let's not talk about this because Steph is from 31, and we find that out in the moment too, and she's in the middle of taking a shower while they're like whispering in the living room, and Norm gets up to leave, and Steph comes out and is like, oh hey, hi Norm, and he's like, oh hey Stephanie, I'm just I'm leaving now, Chet, we'll talk about that thing some other time and whatever. And he's about to leave, and he's like, Steph, what was different about being from 31? And
or how was 31 different
or
something?
From 33, yeah. And, he's like, she's like, didn't your dad ever tell you? And he's like, no, that's why I'm asking. He never told me anything about 31 or whatever. And she sits there and she thinks, and, and her realization, I put the note, but so did you. It's a great nod.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know, maybe the mashed potatoes were better. And then Norm goes, yep, that's what my dad always said.
That's exactly what he always said. And he's lying through his teeth. He's lying through his teeth. It's amazing. Yeah. And so he's like, he's like, I got to get out of here. Goodbye.
Well, and when he's, he is on the computer and he's pulling up the personnel records, all of the transfers are 31 to 33. There's none that say anyone from 33 ever went to 31. Right. So it's one-sided. And it's like I said at the beginning when we were doing our quick thoughts, is that any one of those transfers by themselves is really kind of innocent and wouldn't raise eyebrows or cause any concern. But when you look at them all in a row, and they give you the dates, right? And it's like 20 years each one of these people serves as the overseer from like the very beginning of the vault, right? And it's like every 20 years there's a transfer from 31, and that person comes in and they're elected overseer. And it's just and when it's all together, then it's a little suspicious.
Yep.
then now you see the pattern, right? And obviously the vast majority of the 33 people have not bothered to think about it all that much, that hey, it's always someone from 31 comes over and we always seem to elect them the new overseer. And it's so normal to them, like you said, they have this little saying they developed, it's just like when things, like you said, when things get glum, vote 31, and remember they were going to run out of water in like a month.
Yep.
So it's not all rainbows and sunshine down in the vault. So it makes sense that the people would vote for someone who had been the overseer before, as opposed to one of the two new guys who have never done the job.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. But like you said, the stuff Norm is uncovering is kind of suggesting, wait a minute, something's going on here. And it's also, I think, it's, we talked about this last week, this is like a danger area for Norm because his dad was the overseer.
Yep.
And his dad came from 31. And so if, based on what he saw in Vault 32, with all of the corpses and the cryptic graffiti on the walls and trying to break into Vault 31, and they know what's going on in there and all that stuff, how can Dad not be up to his eyeballs in whatever is going on?
Right. Yeah.
So
and
it's like
it's interesting because it's the same time stuff like that's going on out for Lucy too, and we talked about it last week, how Lucy's coming to realizations about things that were either connections with her dad, things that she was told that weren't true, and there's right after this moment, she has another big moment where she finds out things that aren't true. And she's finding out those things and is sort of chipping away at her image of her dad. And Norm is having the same experience.
Same thing.
At the same
exact
time.
Same thing. Yes.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting, just in two different ways. Hers are more like, oh, my daddy lied to me. Because she doesn't think anything nefarious yet. She's just...
Not yet.
No, not yet. But she's just thinking like, sort of in that sort of lost innocence way, where you find out that, your parents lied to you about, oh my God, spoiler, there's no Santa Claus. So
wait, what?
That's not what I said. I said there's no Easter Bunny.
I'm gonna need a minute.
But yeah, hers were more emotional ones, whereas Norm is finding out stuff where, like you said, it's their dad comes from 31. How could he not know? Like, if there's something weird about this, he's involved in some way.
He has to be. Yeah. There's no way that, and I think it's safe to say we figured out Norm's a smart kid.
Yes.
And clever, and he puts, he gets 2 and 2, it's 4 with him every time. And he's putting it together.
He's skeptical by nature anyway. He's not as sunny and cheery as Lucy is, which is helpful because he isn't making the excuses like Chet is. He's thinking the worst when he's going through all these things, which is exactly where he needs to be.
Yeah. He has to. Yeah. And what I appreciate again with the sort of conspiracy idea that we start to generate here as he's kind of getting these little clues and putting them together is that now we look at Betty in a totally different way.
Right.
Because she's from Vault 31. Wait, she's from Vault 31. But also Steph is from Vault 31 too. So we can't trust her anymore either.
Right.
She must be and so a lot of these characters, kind of like Lucy, that at the beginning we're kind of taught that they're all goody two shoes and let's have a good day at the picnic and all that stuff. Maybe not so much. Some of these people maybe are a little more nefarious, or there's something going on that we didn't really realize at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, with Lucy, it's much more like her worldview of what the surface was supposed to be is completely being destroyed. And even to the point where Wilzig, like, he knew her name.
Right.
Don't forget that he said Miss McLean.
For some reason,
she's like,
and we don't know why yet. We just don't.
And
the ghoul knows her name somehow.
Well, the ghoul certainly acted like it. He didn't say it, but yeah, his response was like, McLean.
Yeah,
your
there's
name's
some
McLean.
some type of recognition there, but again, we don't know what it's for, and there's this underlying feeling that something's not right about their dad, about these people from 31. And what's great is when you realize that Betty's from 31 as well, and then the Steph thing, it gives them sort of an extra level of like menace. You don't know where they're coming from or what their motives are. In that Steph scene, it just has like, it's dripping with it's like just this weird like unsettling feeling, where Norm asks this perfectly normal question and you can tell her answer is just like total BS. And Norm is just like, yep, that's right, and
that's what my dad said.
Yeah, and it's one of those really great moments in a show where there's so much more being said than the words that are being said.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Great scene. So speaking of shattering Lucy's world, that happens in the next scene because they come upon this what you talked about right at the beginning. There's the big crater, etc. But right before they get to where the crater is, there's a sign that says "Welcome to Sandy Shores." I think is the name.
Sandy Shores is like the name of like the town or something. Yeah,
like the community there, and it says, and it's all about like a safe place to live and da 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 da, and it's basically like this is where you need to go and live and be safe in the new wasteland. And it says on the sign it's part of the new California Republic. And she's like, well, what the hell is that? And then Maximus gives her a little bit of a history lesson and tells her, this is what happened afterwards and whatever, and she is just floored because as far as she knew, she has been raised to think that all that's going on up above are just like hordes of people roaming around, that don't have any food or water and are exposed to all this like nuclear waste and whatever, and that there's nothing organized at all.
They occasionally have to get on the Fury Road to go to Bullet Town. We know, yes.
Right, exactly. But she's like, now that she's finding out that there were communities and towns and something like this, which is like, it's basically like a suburban like subdivision is basically what it looks like on the picture.
Well, it didn't it say it had like a population of like 30,000? I mean,
exactly,
it was
like
huge.
That's pretty big, post-apocalyptic, yeah. And so she's just sort of like coming to grips with more and more things that, she's even says, she's like, well, if you guys were already doing what we were supposed to do for you, what about Reclamation Day? And he's like, what's that? Like, what, that's basically, it feels like her whole existence doesn't mean anything anymore, and everything that they were working towards in the vaults is unnecessary because the world up above moved on and doesn't need them as much as they think they're supposed to be needed,
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, but what is really funny is at the beginning of the scene, they're walking and she's like, could you do me a favor? And he's like, yeah, okay. And she's like, can you tell me what's happened for the last 200 years? And he's like, excuse me? And she's like, well, I knew the bombs fell, 200 years ago. And he says something really interesting because he says, well, I was alive when the bombs fell. And she's like, yeah, sure, and just kind of laughs it off.
Yeah.
But then they come upon, like you said, the sign, and she kind of has this moment of like, oh, well, my whole life's purpose has basically been a lie. And, the surface, like you said, doesn't need me. And I like that he's like, well, if it makes you feel any better, it didn't work out for them.
Right.
That they kind of failed, and so then they step out, and like we said at the beginning, it's just this amazing effect shot where they come upon this crater that's got to be like the size, football field size long,
right.
And it's it's obviously an impact site of one of the nuclear weapons, the atomic bombs, right? And on the other, and they're like right on the edge of the crater, and then on the other side, beyond the other side, it literally is a decaying skeletal city with all these skyscrapers that are all in various stages of falling apart, and it's just gorgeous.
It is
to
beautiful.
Look at.
It's beautiful, and the way they frame that shot, where it's them from behind,
oh yeah,
and they're right on the edge of the crater, and all of that sort of crumbling stuff is happening off in the distance, and they are just like, it's like they're standing on the edge of the world. You know what it really made me thought of? It really reminded me of like the final shot of Fight Club, when they are both at the top of the building and watching everything sort of fall, and they're both like standing on the edge and watching everything fall apart out in the distance, and I was like, well, it's a similar vibe, but just completely different circumstances. I just thought the shot just reminded me of that same moment. But yeah, such a great attention to detail with the crater, the depth of it. They peek down inside it, and you see all of the like you said, the skeletal remains of the buildings on the other side of the crater are just like slowly sort of crumbling, even in just like the regular air, and it like eroding. They're like eroding with time, and it's just it's one of those things about an apocalypse TV show or movie or whatever, when they talk about, and you see these things that are, that were affected by a bomb or whatever, it's an interesting mixture of like the production design and the attention to detail, and what it looks like is beautiful, and it's in the midst of something that was a horrific thing to have happened, but the design and the look of the whole thing is just beautiful, and it is, and that's what this scene is, which is great.
It's for me it's this idea of, I've always found whenever you get a location that is supposed to be jam-packed with people and activity and life, and then you see it when it's completely dead, that's unsettling and creepy, and because it's just wrong, like inherently you look at a big city and you're like, there's supposed to be people there, supposed to be, it's supposed to be teeming with life and activity, and when you see this, and it's like literally like a tomb almost, that all that's left are these giant concrete, slabs that they built a long time ago, and they're even, like you said, they're slowly crumbling away. It's unsettling, and it gets me in all the great ways of why I love horror and why I love the apocalyptic stuff. And the production design on it, like I said, it's a scary thing. I mean, it's something that we'll never see, hopefully. Right. But it's a thing you're like, that just to see that must be something. Wow, and so absolutely, that was like the show-stopping moment. And you're right, the way that they filmed, they frame them, where we're looking over their shoulders, and they're almost in almost like a silhouette because of the sun and the light. It is a really cool shot. And the sad thing is that most likely those two people were standing in front of a big green screen, but still, it's cool.
but it still looked beautiful.
It did. It really did. I'm sure if we were to meet one of them at a show at some point and say, tell us about that scene, they'd be like, that was like a big green screen. We were looking at a tennis ball. I mean.
It was just the three of us, me, her, and the tennis ball.
And the tennis ball. That was it.
Yeah. And then, when they're talking about, the explosion that happened, the crater that happened, and, how all those people did die, Maximus was saved, etc. And Lucy's just always concerned, like, why do these things happen? And you and I both included, but you've got the longer part of the quote where, he's trying to explain what happens and how things fell apart, and Maximus puts it really succinctly.
Yeah, and before he gets to that line, though, she asks, like, did anyone survive? And he goes, I did.
Yeah.
And then we get the little flashback of him as a little kid, and he, like, is in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And he comes out, and there's I can't tell if it's a Brotherhood knight or not, but it's someone in power armor that is there, and clear it has to be the brother because he clearly takes the kid with him, and then Maximus grows up in the with the knights and wants to be the but we see that little flashback, and so then she literally is like, I don't understand, how did this happen, how did everyone get destroyed, and he said, well, it's the same thing that always happens. Everyone wants to save the world. They just disagree on how.
Yeah.
And yeah, what a great line.
Oh yeah. It sums up every post-apocalypse sort of organization that we've ever seen in any movie, any series, whereas it is exactly what happens. Everybody wants to be trying to save the world and go back to where we were, but no one can ever agree on how to do it. And
right.
That's where the conflict comes in. That's why, fight the dead but fear the living kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Everybody wants to return to order as long as they get to be the order.
Yeah, exactly. So we then we have this great moment with them, which is just visually astounding. But then we get another really great visually astounding moment where not long after Betty and Norm have a...
Can we mention, before you say this scene, can we mention what is the Vault people's obsession with Jell-O cake?
I don't know. I'm all done with having Jell-O for quite some time because
oh my god,
I had a colonoscopy about a week and a half ago. And
lots of Jell-O.
Once you get to the end of the day and you're like, I'm not a huge fan of Jell-O, but it's the only thing I can eat right now, and it's better than just keep sipping the water. Just keep eating Jell-O. Eat the Jell-O. Keep
eating the Jell-O.
It saved my life, man. That and like beef broth. But anyway,
beef broth.
Right?
So Betty has this victory parade or victory party, and she's like serving this like cake.
Yeah, she's serving the Jell-O cake. But she has this great quick moment with Norm. And it's another moment where Norm is saying one thing, but his eyes are saying something else, and his demeanor. And Betty is, he asks her, he tells her, congratulations and etc. And I can't really remember what it was that Betty said, but she was basically like, she's on her guard because he's saying congratulations, but he's hesitating. He's not really getting through. Like, it's clear he wants to say something else. He wants to ask about Vault 31. He really does.
And he has that like kind of like stare at her moment where it's like, dude, you're giving away the whole farm. Walk away, But that's, like you said, he is such a skeptic. And is so, at first he was just like, ugh, this like Vault, like rah rah, let's go be peppy like my sister. Totally not me. Yep. And it's just turning his nose up to it, right? All of the flashback, all the montage stuff, right? When, Lucy's like, I was in a book club, and it's like her and her dad are reading like War and Peace, and you see Norm has the book and he's like playing a video game or something rather than, joining the discussion, right? So he's always had that sort of, I'm not doing any of this, but so he's true to his nature, but at the same time, you're like, dude, these people will kill you. What are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like, no, don't let them know because then they're going to know
Yeah, exactly. They're going to know that you know. So
that's right. And if they know that you know and you know that they know that you know, then everybody knows.
Yeah, damn it. Yeah. So they have this moment, and what the best part of it was when Norm finally turns and walks away, and you can see Betty's got the smile on her face, and as soon as Norm walks away, her smile goes.
It melts away on her face, like,
okay. So she's now, she had the one moment with Norm and Chet where she's like, what are these two up to? And now she's like, okay, he's really up to something. Plus, you got to figure all the other stuff that's been happening with Norm and the other, the thing that he said at the
meeting
gathering,
about
and
killing all the prisoners.
Yeah, and then in the last episode when they had the whole discussion and over the rhubarb pie, and she knows that he's feeling a certain way and is not really expressing everything. He's feeling kind of down, and she just can't put her finger on what's going on with him, And then in that moment, she sees that he is questioning a lot of stuff and is very, like, he's on the verge of maybe asking too many questions. She sees in him that he's skeptical and that he's questioning, and he's not like Chet. He's not going to just, brush something under the rug and go, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
this doesn't matter
okay
anymore, And so she knows he's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
And so that's that scene, which happened a little earlier. But then she has what's called her first official act as overseer. She has a big group meeting, and when they meet, they have this whole conversation about how their numbers are depleted, and it's a blessing that they have all the resources of these vaults, and it's their responsibility to bring back Vault 32 to where it was before. And so people are going to end up being reassigned to Vault 32 to help bring it back up again. And so she gathers all the people, and they go for a tour of Vault 32.
Oh,
now,
my God.
Chet and Norman have seen Vault 32, and no one else
Very
has.
recently.
Very recently. So they all come through the door, and it's like a totally different world.
Oh, man.
They've painted, they've fixed, they've cleaned up, and it is back to where it was before. And what's great is as he's walking through, Norm would see a chair, and he'd flash to what used to be in that chair, which was like a dead body with a pike through it or whatever. And now it's just a chair sitting there, and it's cleaned up and it's repaired or whatever. Or he sees the window to somebody's apartment, and the last time he walked by, there was someone who was dead in the window, and there's blood spattered all over the window, and blah, and there's a skeleton there or whatever. And now it's all cleaned up, and there's pretty curtains hanging.
Oh, yeah.
So he's walking through and thinking, holy shit, what is happening here?
And so is Chet. Chet's like, what is going on?
What is happening here? What the hell is happening? And they're like, this is like a whole new world. And the rest of the citizens are all like, this is lovely. Isn't this nice? Look at how nice it is. Because they don't know.
They're sitting in the chairs and they're just relaxing. And I love when Norm comes up and by one of the doors, there's clearly there's been some white paint put on the wall.
Yep.
And then it flashes to that's where one of the graffiti messages were, from before. And then when he goes into the one room and he sees the toaster.
Yep.
And then it flashes back to the dude that had electrocuted himself by sticking the fork in that toaster, right? And now it's been, like you said, it's been completely repaired and cleaned up, and all of the corpses have been removed. I mean, it's a total gaslight job that was done. And I think it's really important that one thing that Betty says is that she has been talking to the overseer of 31.
Right.
And they agree that they need to resettle 32.
Yes.
So it adds a little more intrigue and conspiracy into the whole thing because, so you're talking to people of 31. Okay.
Meanwhile, we haven't seen anyone from, we know Steph is from there and we know Betty's from there, but we haven't seen anyone from inside 31. We don't know what their people look like, what their overseer looks like, who they are. It's all
no one from 32 has ever gone there, as far as we know.
And there's all of this conversation happening about and it's describing action that happened off screen. And now we don't really trust Betty, do we? Now that we know those things. So was there really a conversation with 31? Or who knows? Is there something nefarious going on with 31? And this was the plan all along, and who knows what it all is. But the fact that you can't trust Betty, and Norm knows he can't trust Betty now, is it makes it even scarier. All of this unknown, and now on top of it, there's all of this happening, and he can't trust Betty.
Right.
It feels like the only person he can really trust right now is Chet, and it's only because Chet saw everything.
Yeah, but But the danger thing I would imagine that Norm is worried about with Chet is that Chet is now kind of, hooked up with Steph,
Yeah.
and Chet is innocent enough to be go up to Steph and be like, you won't believe what Norm and I did the other day.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's that problem. But you're right. He's really the only person that I think that Norm feels at all comfortable with at any of this stuff. And you left out one part of that scene in Vault 32 that I really liked, is that Norm goes back into the overseer's office.
Yeah.
Where that weird looking kind of grinning corpse was.
Yeah.
And we're like, is that the overseer? Is that somebody else? And what I love is, again, it's all cleaned up. It's all pristine and beautiful. But if you notice, the computer terminal has been smashed.
Yeah, exactly.
And destroyed. And he's sort of like, huh. And then Betty comes up behind him, and comes up to him, and she like puts her hands on like his shoulders and like, hey, what are you doing? And he turns around, and I love this because he looks at her and he goes, great job cleaning up.
Yeah.
And there's just so many levels to that sentence.
Because he's basically admitting, like, we know what it looked like before.
Yeah.
I know what it looked like before. You know that I know what it looked like before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's so much being said in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
And she sort of like goes, and then she turns around and just kind of leaves him there. But you just know, like you said, that she knows that he knows way more than he's letting on.
Yeah, exactly.
And like every second he's becoming more of a problem that she's gonna have to deal with at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see the next things that happen with Norm, and I'm nervous for him because, like you said, yes, Chet might side with Steph or feel some loyalty there. So Norm is really by himself, very much by himself here.
I don't think Chet would turn on Norm. I think Chet just would be naive enough to think that, hey, Steph, I should tell you this because you're,
right.
He doesn't see 31 as an issue.
Right.
Being from 31. So,
yeah. So, Norm's story for this episode ends with just an image of him by himself, which sort of underlines the fact that he is really by himself currently.
He is, yeah. He's on his own. Yeah,
which is a shame. So we go back to Lucy and Maximus, and they are still, trying to find the head. They're following the marker, the tracker.
The tracker.
But it's clear that what looked like just a flesh wound.
A graze, if you will.
Yeah. And I love how he like sloughs it off, and he's like, oh, it happens all the time. And I'm like, what? Totally showing off. And so it's clear that he's in pain. And they pull out the rag, and he's clearly like, it's more like he got shot in the arm. It wasn't a graze. The bullet's probably somewhere lodged in his arm somewhere. He's bleeding a lot. He's in pain.
He's losing a lot of blood. He's getting a little lightheaded and dizzy. And yeah.
So it's not good. So Lucy immediately is like, well, we need to get you some help. And they look around and they find, and there's a hospital there. There's a medical center. And
Hawthorne Medical Facility, which is an affiliate of Vault-Tec.
Yes.
It says it right on the sign.
And he's like, what do you think you're going to be able to find in there? And she's like, I don't know. How about a first aid kit,
Yeah.
And
he's like, we don't know what's in there. He's like, and also, by the way, he said earlier, just jumping back, he's like, I didn't even realize that there were people in the vaults.
Right.
And she's like, what did you think was in there? And he's like, monsters. And she laughs. And he's like, what? That's what we were taught, So, but clearly his street smarts is kicking in when he's like, Lucy, you don't just walk into a building like that because God knows what's going to be in there,
Yeah, you don't know. And so, but she isn't thinking like, oh, I'll be able to find like medicine or something like that. She's setting her sights at least a little low. She's just looking for like a medical kit of some kind. She probably wants to be able to like sew up his wound so he stops bleeding and maybe get
find
him
a stim pack.
Yeah, something. Who knows? So she goes in there and he waits outside, and then after like 10 seconds he's like, damn it, I need to go in there too.
Yeah, and we should point out that he now has a pipe gun that he got from one of the probably the dude of
Yes.
the fiends.
Yes.
And
he grabbed
so he has
that gun. Yes, before
yeah.
they left.
So and it's great because it looks like it's like a piece of wood and a piece of pipe that's taped together with duct tape.
Yeah.
Which in the game that you find these people in the wasteland have constructed these pipe guns, and you can find them and you can modify them and make them better and stronger and do more damage and stuff. But pipe guns are totally a thing in the video game version of this. And I thought, again, a nice little touch that he has this gun that is clearly something that a guy slapped together with like literally a block of wood and a pipe, and he's made a gun out of it. But anyway, so he has a weapon too, is basically the main point, that Lucy has her pistol and he has a gun as well. So he goes in after her.
Yeah, and so he's not unarmed when he enters, which is a fair point. So he's following along. The hallway lights up in a way that's so video game. Video game, because it's almost like it's leading you, like, go this way, go this
bing,
way.
Bing, bing, bing.
It's
bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, it's very like subliminal. And so he goes through a set of doors and tries to continue on, and it's a great moment where he goes to like grab the handle and he tries it like 2 or 3 times and realizes there is no handle. It's a false door. It's a picture.
It's like it's painted on. Yeah. And also we should point out the doors he goes into, stenciled on it, it says medical supplies.
Yeah. So you would think
that's where people are going to go look.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like, go in here. This is where the cake is. Come and get a slice of cake, kind of thing.
Is it Jello cake?
No. No more Jello, please. And so he realizes, oh crap, and he goes to turn. The lights change to red. There's like a gas that's like blown in there to like put him to sleep or whatever, and then the floor falls out. And off he goes.
Yeah. And also the doors he came into are locked. He can't open them. And so he's like, Lucy, and then literally the trap door opens and he's like, ah, and then it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah. And so when he regains consciousness, Lucy wakes up first.
Yeah.
And she gets up and she crosses over to the other side of the room. And a few seconds later, he wakes up and is like, oh my God, where are we? And you can see his arm is bandaged. So he's been taken care of. And so when he wakes up and he's like, where are we?
They both been disarmed.
Yes. But she looks through that window and sees people walking around. And she sees that they're all wearing blue outfits. And she's just so happy. And she can't believe it. And she's like, you want to know where we are? It's all okay. We're going to be all right. We're in the best place in the world. We're in a vault.
We're in a vault.
Oh my God. And that's the end of the episode.
Yep. So they found another vault. So,
or did the vault really find them?
That's true. We have to, the way to get into this vault was certainly different than like the 31, 32, 33 way. So yeah. But,
exactly.
But she is back to like, everything's on easy street now because these people, trust me, vault people, we are the nicest people in the world.
And it's funny because knowing how the next episode sort of turns out, spoilers, it's interesting because she's just so like, oh, this is going to save everything for us. And we know it's not quite that.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. And, plus, if you think too positively about something, it's just going to flip to the other. And when has anything gone well for her so far?
I know. So, it's like, kid, you really got to look at it. You're weak here.
Yeah,
all
she
right?
kind of 0 for 6 this week.
Yeah,
so, you know.
It's just like, has anything you've tried to do turned out in a good, positive way? No, not even a little.
Not a lot. Not at all. Not at all. So that's it. That's the end of the episode. Anything we should talk about before we take our break? You made a good point, which I meant to chat about at the top of the episode, but we didn't get there, so might as well now. But you included the note. It's the shortest episode of the season so far.
Yes, yeah, it clocks in at like 45 or 46 minutes, and like that includes the like minute long recap at the beginning and the 2 or 3 minutes of credits at the end. So there's really only about 42, 43 minutes of actual show, which is short. I mean, the other episodes were in the 50 minutes, and like the first one I think was over an hour. So yeah, it is, and it's just a weird anomaly that this one is the shortest one of the season, which is interesting because while it was short, it's still there's a lot packed in there.
Oh God, yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Anything else you think? I'm looking through my notes, and I think I got to chat about everything. There was one point. I did include a note there when Norm and Chet find the the opening to 31, and there's, like you were saying, there was the tableau there, and there's the note that says we know what's in there. Chet says, why were they trying to get in? Because the way their tools were, it looked like they were trying to open the vault.
Yeah, they're trying to break in. Yeah,
and his thing was, why were they trying to get into 31? Which is the big question, like, what is it about 31? What is different about there? And we got, it was like the mystery of the whole episode is what is up with 31. So I thought that was an interesting line from Chet. Yeah, I don't have anything on my list that I didn't get to.
The only thing that wasn't on my list, but I just thought, we should mention it, and Norm is in the overseer's office, and Betty comes up behind him and looks at him. Norm goes, "Hey, Betty, what happened to my mom's Pip-Boy?"
That's right, yeah.
And Betty's like, "Oh, well, we buried it with her." And he's like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "How do you know?" And she's like, "'Cause I buried her along with your father." And so, clearly Norm knows that is a lie, right? Because, obviously the Pip-Boy was used to open the vault, so that's not true. But, she's implicating that Dad was involved again. So again, it's more of this, Dad is probably not a good guy, I mean, it's
or maybe just a good guy caught up in something bad or whatever. We don't know yet, but it's obvious that there is something going on in the dad's involved, for sure.
And he clearly knew way more than he let on.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. So, but anyway, it's an interesting back and forth between those two characters, because he asks her a question that he already knows the answer to, or at least partially, that somehow the Pip-Boy is got outside because the Raiders had it.
Yeah.
And then she completely tells a different story that can't possibly be true. So it's sort of confirming with him that, we cannot trust her at all. Yeah. So, and she kind of, like you said, she kind of gives him that look of like, I have to keep my eye on this kid because he's starting to put the pieces together.
Yeah, he is. And it's like, it's very much, we were joking about it earlier, but it's very like, I know that you know that I know that you know we know.
Yes.
And we both know that each other knows. And there's so much more being said in their scenes together. And it's just so... And in that moment, too, when they're talking about the Pip-Boy, she literally puts her hands on his shoulders. Like, it's this intimate moment, but it's got so much menace involved in there. It's so great. It's so great. Great scene.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it's like we both know that we know, but we're still going to keep up this charade that we don't know, even though we both know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really wonderful. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. All right. I think we got everything we wanted to talk about for our notes for the episode itself. So that's going to wrap it up for us. So hang around, folks, for just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss our listener feedback we received and what's coming up on the podcast.
So everyone, please stick around, because there will be Jell-O cake, except for Diana, because we will be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally going to get in. You better get ready for it.
Diane, get behind me! No, it's not stopping!
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do we do?
Aim for the head!
What?
Aim for the head!
You heard them. Aim for the head!
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the best of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and apocalyptic entertainment. Aim for the Head, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hi, I'm Ross Marquand, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And remember, always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work.
Hey there, everybody. We are back. We're going to jump right into our listener feedback we received for this episode. So, Steve, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
All right. Well, we got our feedback from our
Number one.
There's like 4 things that are reliable that you can count on in life, and that's 3 things. There's death, taxes, and Erica Price giving us feedback for Fallout. So there you go. Thank you so much for writing in, Erica.
Yes, it's like, yeah, exactly. Death, taxes, feedback from Erica.
Feedback from Erica Price.
Yeah,
So she sent this in via the Facebook. So she says, "Well, Maximus, you spoke too soon, didn't you?"
Yep.
Yep. And then she goes, "New fear unlocked. Enormous roaches picking my paralyzed body apart."
Yeah. Yeah.
Much
exactly.
like you, where you're like, "Oh, gross."
Yeah. No kidding.
And then
Ugh.
she goes on to say, "Wow, he owes Lucy his life. Hopefully he'll stop lying." And he lies again. Twice.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, come on. And she's like, "Come on, Maximus." And then she says, "I'd vote for Betty too, but it'll probably turn out badly, won't it?"
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably not going to
Probably.
turn out all that great. But again, when things get glum,
Yeah. Vote 31.
vote 31, right?
Yeah.
So then she goes, "Wait, so Maximus is saying he was a kid when the bombs fell? Different bombs?" And I agree. That was an interesting moment when he said that, because you're like, wait a minute, that's like 200 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how so yeah, that was an interesting point that they really didn't clarify all
Yeah.
that much. So and then she says, "Different bombs?" But then she goes on to say, "Wow, how'd they get all Vault 32 cleaned up so fast?" Good question. I
Yeah.
mean, not only did they clean it up, but they like turned all the lights back on and repaired the light bulb. I mean, it was like brightly lit, and the fake AstroTurf was. I mean, that was like a huge cleanup job, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there had to be a lot of people doing that to make that work that way. But yeah, absolutely. And then she says, "Vault 31 must have had a hand in it."
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, probably,
maybe.
right? I mean, we don't really know, like you said, we don't really know much about Vault 31. We've never seen it. All we know is that there are people that have come over from it, and they are kind of tight-lipped about what it's like.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that, thanks to Norm and his snooping, that whatever it is, it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely clear. Yeah.
I think we could take what that raider told Norm and just alter it a little bit and say, I don't know what the people of Vault 31 were doing, but it was anything but innocent, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So yeah. So then she goes on to say, well, mostly cleaned it up anyway. Mostly. And then she finishes it up by saying, "Are they in Vault number 4?" And then she means at the end with Lucy and Maximus. She goes, "It's hard to see the numbers on their back." And I believe, yes, they are in Vault number 4.
Correct. Yeah.
So yes, you did not misread the Vault jumpsuits. And
Yeah.
you're right. The shot we get of them through the window, it is not. They don't make it very apparent. There's nobody with their back to the window for us to go, oh yeah, it's Vault 4. But you are correct, Erica. So anyway, amazing feedback as always. Thank you for writing it in, and I really hope that you get over your fear of enormous roaches picking over your paralyzed body. So.
Yeah. That's a hard one to get over. I mean, I'm still thinking about it, and it's,
I know.
Gross. All right, so coming up on the podcast next week, we'll be covering episode 6. Title of this episode is The Trap. It's a trap. Sorry, that was my really bad Admiral Akbar. And the description we have of the episode is Lucy and Maximus learn about Vault 4's Vault 4's refugee policy and uncover unsettling secrets. Meanwhile, the ghoul has flashbacks to his former life where he learned of his wife's role in a Vault Tech conspiracy.
Ooh.
My land. I can't wait to find out. And like I said before, I did blaze through this series before, so the finer details of sort of like the multiple like layers upon layers that I know were going on, I can't remember some of them because I went through the episode so fast. So I'm looking forward to getting the details of everything that went on with the ghoul and his family and his wife and all that stuff, and sort of slow that down and get to watch that at least like 2 or 3 times. So that'll be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's coming next week. Just a little programming note for everybody. The week of September the 1st is, here in the States, that is Labor Day, and it's holiday. We are both off of work, I hope, for that day, but we are also both going to be out of town on the 1st. I know I will be in Michigan for a week, that whole week of September, and you are most likely going to Wisconsin for a long weekend? Yep.
I believe we are. Yep. That is the plan.
Yeah. So because of that, what we'll do is we will push forward our coverage of the Fallout finale by 1 week, and we'll cover that the week after when we get back. And then what we'll do is we will double up our first Daryl episode. We will cover both the season premiere, which airs on the 7th, and then we'll cover the next week's episode. We'll do that all in one. I love a good double episode.
No, it's always a good way to start.
Yeah, it's always a good way to start it off. So just programming note, we'll be off that week. I'll remind everybody, but we'll pick back up right after that and start in with our coverage of Daryl right away. So, yeah. So last week, and the week before, we told you how Steve was going to be appearing on our pals, the Bloody Essentials podcast, and so that episode is now out. You can listen to that. Just search for it anywhere where you can get podcasts. I listened to it this weekend, and it was a lot of fun. Basically, I would tell you this, folks, if Return of the Living Dead is a movie that is one of your faves, or if it's one you haven't had a chance to see yet, watch it if you haven't seen it. And if it's one of your faves, go ahead and listen to this episode because that is what they talk about. And your pal and mine, Steve, has lots and lots of really good trivia and tidbits and some history about the movie and the writing and all of that. And some of that stuff I have heard before because we covered Return of the Living Dead back in the day.
We sure did.
And so I knew some of these stories, but I know that there's plenty of people that probably don't know them. So if you're interested in hearing some great stories and some history about Return of the Living Dead and some discussion on that movie, go ahead and check out Steve appearing on the most recent episode of Bloody Essentials.
Yeah.
It's out there, and it was a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah, it was. It's a really fun episode, and what just a little tidbit, a little teaser, if you will. One of the just very, like, to me, surprising things is that one of the Bloody Essentials folks had never seen this movie.
Right.
And so literally it was their first, they watched it, like a day or two before we recorded the episode. And that blew my mind that, and they had said, they'd heard about it. Their friends had said, oh, you got to watch it. And yet they also said that they were not overly spoiled by people talking about it for, the 20, 30 some years they've been alive, that the movie had been around. So it was still, a lot of it was fresh. And, it wasn't one of these, oh, I heard about this. Oh, I heard about this. It was much more, oh, I'm just enjoying this movie the first time I've seen it. I was blown away by that. For diehard horror fans, this is one of those movies that, everyone seemingly has seen. And for one of them to be like, yeah, I'd never seen this before. I was just like, really? So, but yeah, it was a really good time. I had a lot of fun. They're a fun crew. And so we talked a little bit before or after we were finished recording about doing some sort of another movie in the future where you and I would participate. So we'll have to check your busy social calendar and see what's what.
I am very busy socially. That's how I roll. I know. So many social engagements and friends. I told beating them, people off with a stick.
I said, you don't understand how many irons this woman has in the fire here, people. Right. It is really difficult. I mean, even like for me to get on to record this with you, it's like I have to go through your assistant, and it's a whole to do. It's
all miraculous that it even happens, really.
I agree.
So like we said, check out Bloody Essentials. Great episode, lots of really good tidbits in there. And then coming up next weekend, Steve, you're gonna be heading out to Convention Land once again.
Oh my God, my bank account will never recover. Yeah, I believe I'm having kidney surgery on Wednesday. So so I'm gonna get a little extra money, you know. But yeah, it's Fan Expo, which is the big pop culture show that used to be Wizard World that has been redone. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to make it this year, which is too bad. But it's usually a show that we go to. And this year, again, it's a wide range. It's not necessarily a horror show, although there are certainly people that have made horror movies that are there. Oh, yeah. But it's more just general pop culture. And so this year they have Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen from Star Wars. So you have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, which is pretty sweet. And then, just a whole wide range of comic book artists and animation voice people, as well as just, regular actors. And so for me personally, it's going to be really fun. I want to meet Brendan Fraser from The Mummy. He's going to be there. And John Hannah, also from The Mummy, and so that's going to be fun. Oh, yeah. There's a but there's a big Aliens reunion with a lot of folks that played the Marines. But the big thing for me is that Paul Reiser is going to be there, so get to meet Mr. Burke. And interestingly enough, Helen Hunt is going to be here. So there's also going to be a Mad About You reunion, which is like, wow, that's going to be interesting. And and just like a lot of other again assorted celebrities from various franchises and things, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. I mean, it's just a huge conglomerate of all things pop culture. And of course there's the massive dealers room, and there's the the artist alley with all the people selling their original artwork and all the panels and all that stuff. So it's usually a really good time. So fingers are crossed that this will be no exception. So, and that's this weekend. It starts Friday. It's all day Friday, or like Friday afternoon into the evening, and then all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So some tickets are still available. I don't know what is sold out or not. I keep seeing on my socials, they keep saying, we're getting close to selling out of tickets now. Yeah. But they have not. I have not seen anything where like we are out of Saturday passes or whatever. Yeah. So if you're interested in going, you might definitely still be able to go. You might be able to get a ticket if you're going to be in the area. So again, and Fan Expo, I mean, they go all over. There's one in Boston, and there's I think one in New York, and like one in Seattle, and so on. And what would your guess be for the weekend total of people? 20,000?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
It's a lot. It's not a small show. If you are a person that it doesn't really feel comfortable in large crowds, might not be something you want to do.
Not
because
for you.
there is just a ton of people, and one of our favorite things to do is people watch, and of course you have all the great cosplayers that are there, and then just all of the quirky people that just are quirky naturally. So it's always fun, and we always get a kick out of it. So
Yeah.
So
Good times. It's funny. The Fan Expo Boston was just this past weekend, and a friend of mine from high school, she went and met Helen Hunt, and I asked her. I said, "Was she nice?" And she said she was really sweet. So there you go. Helen Hunt, really sweet.
Good to know.
That bodes well for the future.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting my Mummy poster signed, my Aliens poster signed, and hoping to meet Jennifer Beals and get my Flashdance poster signed because I'm old, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, it does sound like it's gonna be a good time, and I'm sorry to miss it this year, but I will be back again next year probably.
There we go.
And hope for a good show. Hope for a fun show. Hope for
a fun show, a bigger show with more room. That would be really nice. Last year was a little crowded. And then, of course, show-wise, that'll kind of wrap it up for us for a few months because the next show that we'll be going to is in November, the Days of the Dead show.
Yep.
And they've already announced it's going to be a huge Return of the Living Dead cast reunion with, I think, 6
funny
people.
Coincidence how we're just talking about it, too.
Well, again, 40th anniversary, right? I mean, this is the year to do that. So but hey, this is kind of the last hurrah of the summer cons for us, and then we kind of get a little lull, which is going to be really good for my bank account, so I can, pay bills and, normal stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's going to do it for us this week, folks. We look forward to coming back next week and talking episode 6 of Fallout with you. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because those body shots, much like Jell-O cake, it just doesn't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Mummy stuff, and I'd just ask about sliding doors and just, what was that experience like? And, how awful was Gwen Paltrow? I mean, what would you rate her on the awful scale? Was it like completely awful or just mostly awful?
Mostly. She was mostly awful.